Hey guys, and welcome back to our Halloween horror month. And this month we are talking all things Lovecraft. And so last week we talked about a direct adaptation of Lovecraft's work with Dagon, which is based off of the story The Shadow over Innsmouth. This week we're going to look at a not direct adaptation, more of a homage to really what I feel is that exact same story in 2016's A Cure for Wellness. Now, I remember going to see this movie in the theater because it looked very Lovecraftian, and I'm always down for Lovecraft adaptations, but also it was directed by Gore Verbinski, who made the American version of The Ring, and then got caught up in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and he was kind of his foray back to horror. And if there's one thing about Verbinski is that he is a showman when it comes to visual storytelling, and so I was really excited to see how he was gonna kind of tackle this subgenre of horror. And I gotta tell you, I had not seen this movie since watching it in the theater. I really enjoyed it then, even though I know I was kind of in the minority that year. A lot of people didn't like this movie, and was able to rewatch it. And I gotta tell you, I still really do like this movie. I do have some qualms we'll get into, but mostly this is a really, really solid not so much an adaptation. I don't want to say the word adaptation. The word just kind of taking a lot of things from Lovecraft, especially The Shadow over Innsmouth, because you have the story of a young, hungry junior executive played by Dane DeHaan, who honestly, for the very first part of this movie where he's playing kind of like this no nonsense, nothing else matters except the career type character, that being the character of Lockhart, I think he's great casting because he's so emotionless in kind of everything he does. He's very calculating in everything he says leading up into him going, because he's sent by the board of the company he works for, kind of under the pretense of either succeed in what we're sending you to do or be on the hook for what is going to happen, because they need to do a merge and there's been some shady business things. He has to go to Sweden to retrieve the CEO, who's gone to this wellness spa and refuses to return. And so when you have him doing that type of thing, he works very well, the actor does, as this character. One big problem is, and it's not something that just ruins the movie, but I feel like once we have Lockhart at the wellness center, and things happen, he needs to become kind of not just the main character, but kind of the protagonist of the story. And unfortunately, I don't think Dane DeHaan does that very well, because you need that character to be very emotional. And while he's really great at playing the emotionalist suit, him needing to become the emotional protagonist of the story, much like in the movie Valerian, where he plays he's supposed to be like almost like a Bruce Campbell Han Solo type. Again, kind of miscast in that role. He doesn't quite nail it, and it is a big kind of, I can see it being as a big factor of why a lot of people didn't like this movie. Again, it doesn't take me out of the film, but it definitely hurts your connection to that character. However, everything around him is fantastic, whether it's Mia Goth in an early role, and I gotta tell you, Mia Goth is the queen of horror right now with the X trilogy that's happening. Hopefully we hear something soon about Maxine. But she's fantastic in this. And then, of course, the great Jason Isaacs, who plays the head doctor of the spa. Horror fans, you'll know him from Event Horizon, and my wife certainly knows him as Draco Malfoy's dad from Harry Potter. Having said that, I realize I said his last name wrong, and that's okay, because we'll wait till the camera's over before she screams at me. But more importantly, he is fantastic in this movie. So what it really is kind of a story. It really does kind of capture to me the feeling of what Shadow over Innsmouth is kind of about, where we have him go to the spa. It's for rich people because the water is so clean. And turns out some of the treatments are not what they seem. We dive into the sordid history of the castle, where it was burned down by the villagers because of the evil experiments being done on the townsfolk by this late baron some 200 years ago, who was trying to create the perfect human race by impregnating his sister, the old royal thing. And it didn't go over well with the townspeople, so they burned his castle to the ground, and the spa is built on top of that castle in these ancient aqueducts that are full of eels. So we don't get full on like Lovecraft tentacles. I think the eels are a great substitution for that. There's a scene in particular with like a sensory deprivation tank with the eels in it. There is very, very creepy, and that's what this movie captures so well of Lovecraft, is this sense of being out of time, out of place. Of course, you again with the whole people talk a lot like Lovecraft writes about, like there's a sickness inside every human, and the cure, and the sweat, and all the way they talk and stuff. And then you have again what's going on underneath the surface, whether or not there is an actual cult to the Baron, what is going on with the water. There's certainly something in the water that's affecting people. And you get into the things kind of like homages. Not only to that, you see that references and things like the Wicker Man. I won't go into spoilers because I do recommend you watch this movie. Because again, watching it on the second time, I still really enjoy it. I think it's a really great kind of homage to some of those themes. Again, the two biggest critiques I have of this movie is, number one is as well, I like Dane DeHaan. In the beginning, I don't think he makes a great protagonist. You could definitely see him being a Lovecraft protagonist on paper, but for this being a movie, you need to be able to be emotionally invested in him. And unfortunately, he doesn't give you a lot to be emotionally invested in, because he himself is not very emotionally outputting. And then the runtime. I love a great movie and a great slow burn. I think that this movie is well paced, but it is very long. It's almost 2.5 hours, maybe a little longer. And it's also very kind of bad at hiding its mystery, because it's drawing out very slow. It's slowly building this tension. You're slowly unraveling the mystery. They're stretching the time for you to unravel the mystery. However, the movie, it's like when you buy somebody a birthday present and you can't wait to tell them, because the movie will not stop trying to tell you what the twist of it all is. Like, just from the very get-go, it's like, hey, you want to know? You want to know? Hey, you want to know? You want to know? But while also stretching it way out. So it is way too long. But I do think it's a great adaptation as far as the themes of Lovecraft, as far as some of the imagery that we get of Lovecraft. And I really do enjoy it, especially as a modern kind of, again, homage to Lovecraft on the whole, but also of the Shadow over Innsmouth. Granted, it's not as, there are no real, there's no eldritch horror monster. There's no, you know, fish people really, but there is some things that definitely feel very Lovecraftian. And while not maybe as faithful an adaptation as Dagon is of that particular story, the fact that this movie was made in 2016 with the budget this thing was made for, because this movie looks absolutely gorgeous. So it's an absolutely beautiful horror film. So on a lot of those merits, I say check it out. But again, it's not, it's a little long, so be prepared for that. But if you did see it when it came out and didn't know what to expect and you didn't really like it, I say reappraise it. I would be curious to see how you feel about it this time around, because again, I liked it a lot seeing it in the theater, and I liked it a whole lot more, even though I was definitely feeling more of the problems I had with it this time around. But still, even though when it ends, I definitely liked it way more than I thought it would. That it holds up a lot more than I thought it would. So check out A Cure for Wellness. So next week, we're going back to direct adaptations with a movie that covers it checks a lot of boxes, because number one, it is incredibly 90s. Number two, it is on topic because it's a adaptation of not one but 3 Lovecraft stories, and 3, it's an anthology movie, and you know how I feel about anthology movies. So next week, join us as we talk about Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, and I'll see you guys then. Stay spooky. I promise I won't do that again. I'm sorry. Bye.